What specific problem does the proposed method aim to solve regarding inference costs in language models?
The proposed method aims to address the unsustainable inference costs associated with compute-optimal language models, which are slow, expensive to serve, and have a significant carbon footprint due to their high resource consumption. The study highlights that inference costs can exceed pre-training costs significantly, especially as inference volume increases to billions of tokens per day. To mitigate these costs, the method explores overtraining and distillation pre-training, which allows for the development of smaller, capable models that can match the performance of larger models while reducing training expenses. By establishing a distillation scaling law, the research provides insights into how to allocate resources effectively to produce models with lower inference costs and lifetime compute requirements. Ultimately, the goal is to create more efficient models that maintain performance while minimizing the financial and environmental impact of their deployment.
How does the proposed method of distillation pre-training work? Illustrate the step-by-step process of how a teacher model informs a student model during training.
The proposed method of distillation pre-training involves a teacher model that generates predictions used to train a smaller student model. First, the teacher model, which is pre-trained on a substantial dataset, produces a predicted next token distribution and corresponding logits for a given context. During the training of the student model, these logits replace the traditional one-hot targets in the loss function, allowing the student to learn from the teacher's predictions. The student is then optimized using a knowledge distillation loss, which measures the difference between the teacher's and student's predictions, typically through Kullback-Leibler divergence. This process enables the student to capture the dark knowledge from the teacher, leading to improved performance compared to traditional supervised learning, especially when the student is trained on a limited dataset.
Can you provide a detailed example of how the distillation process operates, particularly focusing on a scenario with specific sizes for the teacher and student models?
In our study, we conducted experiments using a teacher model with 8 billion parameters trained on 23 billion tokens to distill a student model with 11 billion parameters. The distillation process involves the teacher generating predicted next token distributions, which serve as targets for the student model during training. Specifically, we found that the cross-entropy of the student can be predicted using our distillation scaling law, which indicates that the teacher's performance directly influences the student's loss. In this scenario, the teacher's cross-entropy, determined by its training data and size, plays a crucial role in shaping the student's learning outcome. Our results demonstrated that while the student can sometimes outperform the teacher, the efficiency of distillation is contingent upon the relative sizes and capabilities of both models, highlighting the importance of the teacher's performance in the distillation process.
What are the theoretical advantages of using distillation pre-training over traditional supervised learning in terms of achieving lower cross-entropy for the student model?
The theoretical advantages of using distillation pre-training over traditional supervised learning primarily lie in its efficiency and the ability to leverage existing teacher models. Distillation can produce more capable student models than supervised pre-training when the total compute or tokens used for the student do not exceed a size-dependent threshold defined by the distillation scaling law. This efficiency is particularly beneficial when a teacher model already exists, allowing for the transfer of knowledge without the need for extensive new training data. Additionally, distillation can yield lower cross-entropy for the student model under certain conditions, such as when the teacher's performance is optimized, although it is noted that supervised learning will outperform distillation when sufficient data is available. Overall, distillation pre-training can be more resource efficient, enabling the creation of capable models with lower inference costs compared to traditional supervised learning approaches.
How was the distillation method validated in the experiments, and what metrics were used to evaluate its effectiveness?
The distillation method was validated through an extensive controlled study involving various teacher and student models ranging from 143M to 12.6b parameters, trained on data from a few billion tokens up to 512B tokens. The effectiveness of distillation was evaluated using cross-entropy as the primary metric, which measures the performance of the student models produced through distillation compared to those trained via supervised learning. The experiments included different protocols, such as fixed teachers with varied students and isoflop profiles, to assess how the teacher's performance influenced the student's cross-entropy. Additionally, the study examined the capacity gap phenomenon, where improvements in teacher performance did not always translate to better student performance, further validating the distillation process. The results were corroborated by fitting the distillation scaling law to the observed data, confirming that the predictions aligned with empirical outcomes.
What specific results were observed from the experiments, particularly in terms of the scaling laws and student model performance as a function of the teacher model size and training tokens?
The experiments revealed that the performance of student models, as measured by cross-entropy, is significantly influenced by the size of the teacher model and the number of training tokens used for the teacher. Specifically, the distillation scaling law indicates that the student cross-entropy can be predicted based on the teacher's cross-entropy, which is determined by the teacher's size and the number of tokens it was trained on. A notable observation was the capacity gap phenomenon, where increasing the teacher's capability does not always lead to improved student performance. In fact, a stronger teacher can sometimes produce a worse student. The results also showed that distillation can be more efficient than supervised learning under certain conditions, particularly when the compute or tokens used for the student do not exceed a specific threshold defined by the scaling law. Ultimately, the findings suggest that while distillation can yield capable models, it does not outperform supervised learning when sufficient data or compute resources are available.